Welcome to our 12th State of the Schools Address. My name is Karina Denny, and I serve in communications, marketing, and community engagement. And we're really excited. We have a full house tonight. So before we hand this over to our superintendent, I'd like to introduce our board members that are here. Member Dr. John Cupoletti. Vice President Katrina Ruggless. And now I'd like to introduce our president, Dr. Viola Johnson.
And I have to hold this and speak in this, right? I think I can lay that down. Good evening. Welcome, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend the Superintendent's State of the School Address. I am Dr. Viola Johnson, and I currently serve as the president of the Winton City School Board of Education. It is with much pleasure that I stand before you this evening to introduce our speaker of the hour, Superintendent Anthony G. Smith. There's so much I could say about Superintendent Smith, but his resume speaks for himself. Now, I've lived in the district for over 30 years. I've watched as our communities, schools, and world around us has evolved and changed, and it continues to change, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But as I reflect on Superintendent Smith's tenure within our district, I am overwhelmed with example after example and concrete evidence of the amount of positive changes that our schools have experienced under his visionary leadership. In today's climate of heightened accountability and limited resources, effective leadership is critical. I am a big believer in the saying that iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens the face of his neighbor. If you take an objective look around you, you will agree that Mr. Smith creates and develops a thriving organizational system where each person is pushed to their fullest potential. The state superintendent's State of the School Address gives us an opportunity to hear about the district's goals that have been set and met, the transitions across all grade levels, along with other noted changes, curriculum and academics, classroom and school conditions, athletics, district leadership, and other initiatives that are on the horizon for the district. This address allows for transparency among us with our community, our parents, our teachers, our business partners. If you will allow us, we will have our iron sharpen one another's. Superintendent Smith is a leader who is dedicated, well-prepared, and knows how to create a vision and shared authority while building a strong leadership team that becomes the catalyst to moving this Winton City School District in an upward spiral. Again, I want to say thank you for sharing your time with us this evening, and Superintendent Smith, you have the floor.
My friends at Waycross Media, thank you. I had a conversation with another superintendent about state of the schools, and he asked a question: who takes care of your media? Who does your media, your broadcasts? And I said Waycross, and he was surprised because he said that when Waycross does the media sensational work for us, I always look taller. So where's my friend, Mr. Day? Mr. Day. Okay, so Mr. Day, whenever you need Waycross Media, you let me know, because they can take care of you too. All right. So welcome. Mrs. Denny gave me some information today, because I didn't think about how many times this has happened for us. But she gave me some information. This is the 12th one? Yes, it's kind of hard to, I think Dr. Johnson kind of broke this, so.
I just held it.
Okay, all right. We'll see what we can do. All right. So here are the highlights. We're going to talk briefly about the report card, the process of change, League of Innovative Schools, teaching and learning, project-based learning in grades 5 and 6, growth and achievement, the infamous hater video, as well as donations and scholarships. Family University, pre-K and spring for 6 and 7-12, and the National Association of Music Merchants, which is better known as NAMM. The address will also feature a night of freedom, Carnegie Hall present performance, the Preschool Village, Athletic League, Nutrition is the Mission Bus, Health and Wellness, Construction Progress, Security and Safety, and the 2020 Operating Levy. I always have a baby in here who just kind of gives me love. All right. So for those of you who came to hear about the report card, we don't control when it's released. That's done by the state, the Ohio Department of Education. However, you see the young man pondering in the O. It's expected to be released late September. However, when it is released, we will actually give you a full overview at the our Student Achievement Committee. So the board will hear it first, and then we'll present it at the Student Achievement Committee so that you can get an in-depth deep dive about the report card, what it means, and the attributes surrounding our district. Before we do anything at Winton Woods City Schools, these are the questions we ask. Is it educationally sound? Is it good for children? And is it fiscally responsible and sustainable? A lot of districts can come up with a lot of great innovative ideas, but if you can't sustain it, then it doesn't really serve us very, very well. Our goals are to consistently increase academic achievement, close the achievement gaps, and prepare all graduating students to be future ready. And the future holds so much. We don't know what the future holds for each individual child. So being future ready means they have to be prepared for whatever the 21st century is holding, waiting for them to be successful. So here's a process of change. You have to identify who's part of the change. You have to build momentum, make decisions, learn as you implement, and you always have to receive feedback, because feedback is what guides you to the next adventure. Peter Senge said this, and he usually stated it in all of his books and in most of his presentations. People don't resist change, they resist being changed. People want to know, what information are you going to give me before you try to implement change? Is it going to be something that I can be part of, or is it going to be something that you just impose on me? Well, at Winton Woods City Schools, we don't want to impose, we want you to be part of it. Schools are about people, students and adults. The more voice and choice those affected have during a change, the less they will feel forced to change, and the more likely they're to understand and use new practices. Anybody here ever try to get someone to change something and it was so much force connected to it that they resisted you? Okay. Anybody here ever use change in a very, very subliminal way, and you let people feel part of the change, and the more you feel part of the change, the better the change is, because now you're part of the experience. So we've been fortunate to be part of something very, very innovative. How many of you ever heard of the League of Innovative Schools? All right, very, very exciting opportunity. The League of Innovative Schools will give us an opportunity to showcase our talent, showcase our innovation, showcase our warehouse of knowledge, but not just locally in Forest Park, Green Hills, Springfield Township, but all across the nation. So there have been many schools that have applied to become part of the League of Innovative Schools. They were very selective, and they chose 14 new members, 34 states, 114 districts. They're sponsored by every high-end technology company in the world. So that means that we will have resources and opportunities for young people that most students in most districts may not have, because now we're part of the league. We had a great teaching and learning director, Dr. Terry Holden. And she's transitioned to be part of her own district in Yellow Springs. But we had a great bullpen. We had great people waiting to take that position over. So we are very, very excited. In some districts, people wonder who's going to transition next, who will be the next leader, who will come in their stead, who will come in their place. Well, we have people in the wings ready to go, because that's how we must prepare our district. because when one person moves forward, the other people have to take the helm and move it as well. So you'll hear a little bit from Mrs. Martin and also Dr. Ragland.
Hello, I'm Adrienne Martin, the new Director of Teaching and Learning for grades pre-K 6. I'm very excited to be here working at Winton Woods City Schools in the capacity of the director for the elementary grade levels. I'm definitely excited to support the teaching, the learning, and the development throughout the district.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tamara Ragland, and I'm Director of Teaching and Learning for grades 7 through 12. I'm here to support the district in the areas of curriculum, instruction, assessment, and professional development for those grade levels. I've worked here for several years, and I look forward in this new capacity to serving the district and the students, teachers, and administrators.
We are excited to be here and support our district.
So how long do you think it took them to coordinate that last part? No, they are one take. So one of the things that we've celebrated, we talk about being on the same beat. All right? Being on the same beat. If we're on the same beat, that means we will be able to accomplish any goal that's put in our path. So I'd like to let you see a little clip about how we are on the same beat. Okay, their CD is going to be coming out in the spring, and you can purchase it for a simple price of $49.95, all right? So what do you see here? So we talk about this other part of our experience. We used to say growth versus achievement. Well, growth doesn't versus achievement, growth and achievement. So what do you see? So take 2 seconds and talk to your neighbor and tell me what you see. 2 seconds. Okay. Now, someone said, look like they're about to pray. No, it's not prayer. They both are at the starting line at the same time, right? Look like it's going to be a fair experience, right? Okay, Ms. Denny, move to the next slide. What's the problem? Okay. Young man on the right has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hurdles. So let's say they both can run that race at 10 flat. The chances of the young man on the right beating the young man on the left, what are the chances? Okay. What does this particular picture have to do with our education reform? What does it mean? How is it connected?
Not everyone comes with the same experience.
Absolutely. Not everyone comes with the same experience. Our children come with hurdles, and it's our responsibility to get them to the finish line on time. What is on time? Graduation and being prepared to be future ready. So one of the things that we have to put in place is how do we get our young people to get to the finish line on time even though there are hurdles? The one thing that makes our district very, very unique is in many cases we don't even know what the hurdles are. They give us information as we go. It could be a homeless situation. It could be a custody issue. It could be that, hey, I wasn't ever prepared for school. It could be that I don't have the proper supplies. It could be something simple as my refrigerator is empty. So these hurdles actually affect what happens inside the schoolhouse. But I'm not using this example as an excuse. I'm using it as an attribute. Even though these hurdles are here, how do we help young people overcome the hurdles? Raise your hand if you've ever overcome a hurdle. How many of you have done it with support? How many of you did it by yourself? Does it feel better when you have support? We are the support. We're the support for the young people in the district because hurdles are inevitable. All right? What are the chances that you will have a preschool group of 150 students that will come through your system that won't have any hurdles? What are the chances? 0. So we know it's going to come. But one of the things that I can tell you about your staff, the people that work with the children, they are not afraid to deal with the hurdles. And some of those hurdles were never caused by a child. It was about society. So how do we break through to make sure that all of our children can reach the finish line on time? The state of Ohio says, Superintendent, if you allow a student with disabilities to stay longer in order to get additional skills, I am going to penalize you. I am going to let you know that that kid will be considered a dropout because it took him 5 years instead of 4. Raise your hand if that's fair. Does the state and the federal government recognize the issues about hurdles? They say they do. We would be irresponsible if we knew a young person wasn't prepared for 21st century learning to take care of themselves. We would be irresponsible if we let them graduate before that time. So we will always be penalized because we know that in order for the students to be adequately prepared, they must have adequate time. So if they need more time, guess what? They get more time. Here's the growth and achievement bell-shaped curve. People believe that there are 1,000 different types of students. There are basically 3 types. The young person who struggles, the young person on target, and the young person who excels. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had a tremendous paradigm shift where everybody moved to the right, no matter what? Because I believe at some point in time, parents are going to say, my child is an overachiever. They're achieving at such a high level. What do you have for me? Another parent will say, my child is regular, functioning in a normal, the higher part of the bell-shaped curve. What do you have for me? And then, of course, the parent who says, my child struggles. Superintendent, what do you have for me? Well, the goal is to have enough for everyone. And this next slide will show you what we expect to happen. The paradigm shift, reform happens when every child moves to the right and no child is left behind. Raise your hand if you are good in all content. Math, English, science, reading, social studies, the arts, music. You're great in everything. Well, guess what? You're that child who needed to move to the right. Now, everybody is good at something. So that's the attribute of project-based learning, because project-based learning helps you gravitate to what am I good at, and then it helps me launch onto my strength and overcome some of my weaknesses. How many of you have a weakness and you know what your strength is, and you say, I use my strength to overcome my weakness? It's not usually the other way around. There's going to be an informational meeting, and I need as many people to come as possible because I think the community needs to understand the attributes associated with the third grade guarantee. It is a very, very rigorous assessment. However, what does the federal government use the third grade guarantee for? Anybody know? Yes, sir. They determined that based on the third grade guarantee, they can determine how many prisons they need to build. So is there a direct correlation between prisons and education? Absolutely it is. Our job is to make sure that the prison pipeline doesn't grow, but the educational experience does. And I didn't say college, because college is not for everyone. We need to get the reality about that. but I'm talking about the world of work, the armed forces, and also universities. Xavier University, one of the most incredible universities in this region, just made a very tough decision. They said we're eliminating the ACT and SAT because now it's about the body of work. So guess what? Project-based learning helps create this body of work. For parents in the room who have children connected to our district in PBL, who've actually had at least 2 years of the experience, I can tell you the children come home very different than where they started. More articulate, more confident, visionaries, and they understand that there are some attributes associated to the work of project-based learning. I am a better person. I can work in groups. I can function. I can give my input. I can be a contributor to the work. Based on the hands that you're going to show me right now, how many of you, in order for you to be successful at your job, you must work with another person? And sometimes that person that you're working with is not your best friend. There's some quirky moments, but when you're working collectively together and you finish the project and people say it was an incredible project, how do you feel? Earlier that day, you may have wanted to do something to the person. Later that day, you want to give them a hug and say, thanks for being on the team. True or false? Okay. So honestly, my team loves me, so they never want to do bad things to me. So I know that for a fact. At least that's what they tell me. Okay. So you get to hear about project-based learning from our own warrior. There's a student, because adults do a lot of talking about what it looks like and how it feels. We get to hear it from a 5th grade student. This is what it means to me.
Through PBL and through modern schooling, we try to prepare them for college or career or 21st century skills. What that looks like is no matter where a student goes after they leave the 12th grade, they are an active, informed citizen of their environment, their country, again, their world, their city, their community, whatever it is. One way that we teach that through PBL, which is something that makes PBL so important, is that it doesn't just focus on the recitation of facts, telling me that they know how to multiply. That is important. But it also teaches them how to work together, how to think critically and solve problems.
I like project-based learning because of how it's not like just doing pencil and paper. And we also get to work with other students. And also we are able to make new friends because we're working with other people. I feel like project-based learning is funner because with traditional, we don't really get to try different things, and it's way more fun to do things that are new, and especially if you're doing experiments and things like that. If it was just normal without projects, it would just be you wouldn't be able to work with other people, you wouldn't be working with other people as much, and it would just be you doing work by yourself.
I like project-based learning because you get to work with different people that you've probably not worked before, and you get to share new ideas with different people. My experience in traditional learning is way different from project-based learning because when you're in traditional learning, you do most of the work by yourself, and you don't really get a lot of people taste of creativity.
Okay, you saw the young people and they gave their overview about PBL. One of the things that we realize is, guess what? We have certain things that are intended consequences, and there are unintended consequences. The unintended consequence, which is a powerful piece, guess what we found out? Students who like working together have less trouble dealing with each other. So as far as bullying is concerned, when you're working in a group and you're working with a colleague and you're working and your agency is saying we can get this done, the bullying is almost non-existent. What do parents want more than anything else? Is my child safe in school? And I'm not talking about being safe from active people out there trying to do harm. I'm talking about active from people within the system. do the teachers like my child? Do other kids? Because I think parents in this room ask a question, a very definitive question. They ask a question, how many friends do you have? Did you make a friend today? How did you get along? How did it work? How did it go? And when people ask questions like, hey, there's a big sleepover. Friends want you to come over. They want you to participate. Hey, here's a teammate on your football team that says, hey, we'd like to do something special today. We'd like to go to a restaurant. We'd like to be involved. Everybody wants their child to be involved in something. So we have to figure and make sure that there are positive attributes on the way, but there are enough things that are happening in our district that are positive that makes our kids say, some of the things that are happening out there I cannot control. But many of the things that are happening in the district that are positive for my child, I want them to be part of it. Raise your hand if you were involved in activities when you were in school. How many of you are still active in activities? You go a little slower than you used to, but you're still involved, and you're probably telling the people on the softball team, can you drag the base a little closer so my home run feels like a home run? All right. This educational foundation has been such an inspirational part of our work. Donated over $100,000. There are certain things we cannot afford to support. They come up with these big checks at convocation and award people checks based on how their growth pattern looks for young people and are these exciting, innovative things that help move our district forward. I'm always very, very inspired by the Educational Foundation simply because they don't have to do it. They do it because they want to. Anytime people come to you and they do things for you because they want to, that's a genuine love for the operation. And so I know that there are members of the foundation here. Mr. Pennycuff, are there other members here?
I didn't look around, but they're all potential members.
All potential members. Oh, okay. Very good. So let's give an applause for the potential members. Very good. So there's another group of people that support our students, and that's the Kiwanis group. They come to every board meeting, present information, present great, great, great gifts to our students, but they also kick it off with a great scholarship. And I'd like you to meet Noah Smith. He's at the incredible Johns Hopkins University. He's a recipient of the Kiwanis scholarship program. And one day, Noah's going to come back to this community and lead it in such an aggressive way, and we will be very, very proud. So keep an eye on the Smith kid, all right? Katherine Bittman, this is what she says. For the past 10 years, I participated on the scholarship committee. As a reviewer, my goal is to find a student who will use our $2,000 scholarship to make a difference. It is not a significant amount of money in the overall cost of college, but it is a small gift and gesture of support and care that can improve our community one child at a time. You know why we bolded the last part? That's the most exciting part of this whole journey, improving our community one child at a time. We also have a great opportunity, Family University. See, we believe if you have a talented community and you have a talented school district, then there has to be talented adults around that experience. Not just teachers, but everybody who's part of that experience. So we have the Family University, and parents said, Superintendent, I like the university, but why does it always have to be in the high school? Let's see if we can split it up and have a family university for K-6. We have different needs. We have different expectations. We have different desires. So we listen, and we're going to try to create that experience. So it will be ESL, math strategies and resources, reading strategies pre-K to 3, and social emotional growth. But if you see the asterisk at the bottom, for suggestions, for session suggestions, please contact Karina Denny, because we don't know all of the things that parents want to hear about. There are some exciting things that parents say, listen, it would really be helpful if the people in my community would like to learn more about this. We may want to learn more about project-based learning. So if we had that as an attribute in the university, I think more people would be part of the experience. They'll also hear about PBL, your student and social media, NCAA initial eligibility, STEM for parents, and then your questions answered. The second bullet is critical. Any parent here with a child ages 10 to 21, anybody in the room? Is there anyone in the room you've had to capture their device at some point in time? All right. You were checking to see, does it work? Is it polished? Or were you checking based on the contents of social media? All right. One of the things we realize about social media, and I know there may be bullies, but not in this room. There are no bullies in this room. When you signed up, you had to say that you were never a bully and you would never be one, correct? So this is a bully-free zone. But years ago, when people were being bullied, when the bullying stopped, it stopped when you went into your house. That was it, right? You were there with friends and family, not unless the bullies were in the house. That's a different story. You can't escape that. However, social media follows you all day. I've seen some things that happen within a matter of minutes, and it has 100,000 hits. And our kids are dealing with those experiences. And yes, we actually use social media as part of our responsibility. We present one-to-one Chromebooks, but we're presenting those Chromebooks in a very responsible way. So social media is here to stay. Do you think I could make a speech on Waycross and I would be able to say, the end with social media, that's it? Everybody, put your devices in these trucks. We're taking them away. How long would my speech last? I would be captured, right? Okay. Of course, NAMM, National Association for Music Merchants. It is important that we keep that attribute going because some students come to Winton Woods because of our incredible music program. And we know we want them to come for the science and the math and the English and some of those other content. But some people are saying, I am here because your music program is at the top. And we appreciate that. Night of Freedom. Over 1,000 guests again. When we first started this road work with the Underground Railroad Freedom Center, they wondered how many people would you bring, Superintendent? How many guests would really come into the city for this experience? Now they're saying, we want you again, and we want you again, and we want you again. Over 1,000 people coming into the city of Cincinnati saying, I'd like to see my child showcased in his attributes and his talents. Most schools can't bring that together. So I have an incredible team that pulls that off, and when the Freedom Center says, we want you to be part of our experience, that's a good feeling. Carnegie Hall. Our students will be performing there March 15th. VE qualified for State Ohio Music Educators Association OMEA contest for 45 years in a row. How many people can say that? Now, when Waycross Media does the promo on this, and I'm standing right there, and I have this mic, people think, oh my God, he's been singing for 45 years. No, it's not me. It's our talented children. 45 years in a row, they have been knocking it out the box. That is an incredible, incredible, incredible gift and talent. And that means that those attributes are connected with our teachers. It's connected with our staff members who are saying, we're going to keep doing it. One day, that slide will say 100 years. And I'll be right here. The Village. The Village is going to be our sanctuary. That is our next big thing, the Village. The Village of young people growing to meet all of the needs and attributes of Winton Woods City Schools. Imagine a preschooler learning all of the functions and all the attributes of project-based learning as a preschooler. When that student becomes a senior, that will be an incredible, incredible monster, a machine, an educational machine that says, I can be talented, I can be uplifting, I can be inspirational, I can do anything because I have all of the attributes and power that's associated with me that I can do it. And I have friends with me that can actually lead the charge as well. So people have to understand, some people are born leaders, but some leaders are created. We create leaders. And I think it's our responsibility to create more leaders. The more leaders we have, the better it works. There are two communities that I'm always in awe of, Madeira and Mariemont. The thing that makes make those communities very, very important is those young people go away to the armed services, the world of work, and then they come back and move into the community. They restart it all over again. I had a chance to talk to the city manager, and he said, Superintendent, that would be an incredible, incredible experience if we could do that. That's our goal, to get our people to come back and lead the charge at Springfield Township, Forest Park, and Green Hills, to be the leaders in the community and to be very, very proud of the work. This is why we need the preschool village, folks. Everybody's heard of that. Critical period of time to position all Ohio children for success. 90% of development happens from birth to 5 years old. And guess what? Some people are saying if you don't get the preschool experience, you are behind. Now, we know people have fallen behind during the years and things happen, but imagine somebody telling you, my 4-year-old is behind. The chances of the 4-year-old being behind and catching up is virtually impossible, because studies say that it's very, very difficult to do so. So we're saying we're not going to let you fall behind. We're going to have an opportunity for you to be part of preschool where you will have all the same attributes as any other student in our care. By age 3, low-income learners, half the vocabulary of their high-income peers. Kids who start behind often stay behind. Those are facts. But we can do something about it based on how we put ourselves in position with preschool. So what's the goal? The goal last year was 300 preschoolers. That's how many we wanted to have in the preschool village. Now the goal is what? 500. We want 500 students in the preschool village. If we have 500 students in the preschool village, look how many educated young people we have moving into the kindergarten experience and then on to first grade. That means in the high school experience, we should have how many graduates? 500. When's the last time Winton Woods City Schools had 500 graduates? When?
70s.
Okay, it's been there. Now we can bring it back again, just by starting at the right point in time. Remember the example of the hurdles. If we bring our children into our experience and they already have obstacles, we have to help them overcome those obstacles. The hurdles are there. We just have to make them be able to run faster, jump higher, not literally, but through an educational experience. 90 to 95% of our programs for kids older than 5. Early investments are the proven strategy. We can't afford to wait. We must have preschool. And it has to be an all-day experience. Here's the caveat. Here's the catch. The state of Ohio doesn't really fund preschool. That's on the district. And we can't wait for them to fund it. We have to find the funds ourselves in order for preschool to work the way that it's supposed to work for every child in our district. Early investments. Return on investment for every public dollar invested in early childhood. Here's a sample of the village.
Welcome to the Preschool Village at Winton Woods City Schools, where our youngest warriors begin their educational journey. 2016-17 school year, the district began to offer an all-day preschool option as well as morning and afternoon classes. For teachers, all-day instruction provides increased teaching time in all subject areas on a daily basis and allows teachers more opportunities to work in small group settings as well as one-on-one with each student. Our village teachers cultivate learning in a way that is paced to meet the needs of all students. The preschool program has inclusionary classrooms that serve children with special needs and typical developing children. Our goal is to provide instruction at each child's level so that individual learning needs are met. Winton Woods City Schools preschool program has received a 5-star rating. the highest possible rating from the Ohio Department of Education. This quality tiered rating system was created to recognize and promote early learning and development programs all across the state of Ohio. Winton Woods City Schools believes in the importance of offering all-day preschool to its families. This opportunity helps to build a strong foundation for future success and equip students with confidence, independence, and the skills necessary to enter kindergarten. We all know that it takes a village, which is why we welcome and encourage parents, guardians, friends, community members, and anyone else who has an important role in the life of our preschoolers to be a part of their educational experience. Parents can be assured that their child will be loved and cared for by our teachers. We warriors attending preschool in Winton Woods City Schools join students throughout the district in achieving their highest potential. They are warriors making a difference. Every student, every day.
Preschool is not optional. The state says it might be, but we must have preschool in order for this to be right. So, how many of you knew Charley Frederick? How many ever met him? An incredible, incredible guy with incredible family members. So, Mr. Frederick passed last year, and we've decided that we would, the stadium is already named in his honor, but our first football game, our first home game is going to be in his honor. We hope that everybody comes. We've invited his family. We want people to share in the festivities. And I believe, Mr. Martin, where are you, sir? Is that our open house? Okay, we've made our first football game connected to not just athletics, but academics. So our first football game will be our open house. We will have a grand affair, and a lot of it will be in the name of the Fredericks family. So if you see his family members, remind them that we have a special day planned for them, and we'd like for everybody to come out and be part of it. One of the things that I know Mr. Frederick wanted, he wanted Winton Woods to get into a league. Not just any league, but a very superior league. So here are all the sports offerings that we have, and we are very, very proud that we will be in the ECC, the Eastern Cincinnati Conference. Now, people think we want to be in the league so that it can be about championships and awards and trophies. Well, a lot of this is about exposure. Scouts look at young people participating with these offerings, and they figure out, how do I get you to become part of my university and part of my experience? The other thing, we are, according to our football schedule, according to what we saw in Max Preps, we have the toughest football schedule in the entire country. All right? Our kids want to play the best. So we'll play this year. I don't know how we really picked that out, but they have some kind of courage that, it's kind of interesting. So we're playing Moeller for homecoming. That should be interesting, all right? And we're playing LaSalle, and we're playing Elder, and we're playing St. Edwards. Some of those teams are, and we're playing a group of young men who were state champions in St. Louis. We're traveling to St. Louis. Now, one of the things that will happen for us in the near future, 2020, we won't have to travel to all these places for competition. We will have our own league. Because our young men and young women that are participating in sports, when they go into the sporting arena, it's all or nothing. In order for them to be properly recognized, they have to win a state championship. There are no trophies in between, no league championships, so we're changing the face of who we are. Mr. Martin and I had the pleasure of meeting the new commissioner, and he is very, very excited about Winton Woods being in the ECC. He was shocked when he heard that we had a girls' crew team. He says, how did that happen? And I said, well, the people that were part of the lake and part of the experience wanted this to happen for us, the Army Corps of Engineers. They built a dock, and they're saying this is a great attribute. One day we'll have a big regatta. We'll have our own right here at Winton Woods Lake, and it will be a great experience. Anybody ever met Luke Spencer? Luke Spencer and I played on the same soccer team. We both played for Louisville. No, Luke plays for Louisville. He's a professional, incredible person. Used to play for FC Cincinnati, transferred to Louisville, and he is a 2009 alum. How many of you saw this bus riding around this summer? 21,000 students. Nutrition is the mission. Ms. Denny, the video?
Winton Woods City Schools is excited to provide nutritious meals to all students in our community through our Nutrition is the Mission bus. During the summer, all students 18 years or younger can look forward to receiving a nutritional boost every Monday through Saturday, with the exception of July 4th. Our meal distribution vehicle will travel to 4 locations: Pal Crosley YMCA, Green Hills Community Building, Quail Meadow Apartments, and Forest Park Apartments. Each student will receive a lunch that includes protein, grain, vegetable and fruit, and a beverage of their choice. The district also added a mobile library to the bus with free books offered to children after they receive their meal, as well as an available Wi-Fi hotspot. At Winton Woods City Schools, our mission is to ensure every child reaches their highest potential. We Warriors are passionate about creating opportunities for our students so they can become future ready. For more information and updates, go to wintonwoods.org/summer meals. And as always, go Warriors!
Every administrator on my team rode that bus in the summer. They wanted to, they participated, and we were fortunate. We were a 5-day-a-week event, and Mercy Hospital sponsored the event along with our food service department and Mr. Doctor. They decided we can add another day. So this bus actually ran 6 days a week in the summer. That's an attribute. That's a positive thing that says we care about our young people even when school is not in session. This is an interesting video. It's not a video, it's just a quick picture. You have our health expert that's working with a group of teachers, getting them ready for school, all right? So I don't know what student they were thinking that they were going to face, but they're getting themselves in physical shape in case they have to chase little Johnny through the gym or whatever it has to be. So we actually ran a summer program for our adults where they had a fitness class every Tuesday and Thursday, and it was a wonderful experience. 2007, an alum of 2007, C.J. Hooten. And one of the things that we want to be able to do is, guess what? We want our alum to come back and give not just money, even though we take the money, but we'd like them to have some of the other attributes. What are things that you have talent in, or that you have talent in, that you can come back and give to the students of Winton Woods? However, Mr. Hooten was interviewed during convocation, and he was able to give you a little bit of his story, but one of the things that he did not get to share was he would have never made it without music. He says music is the thing that changed his life. And people say, well, why is that so important, Superintendent? Well, what's important is, guess what? There are music programs being cut across the state because of funding. People are saying we can't keep the music, we can't keep the arts. And because we have a rich technology program, the state of Ohio says since you have those, you don't need to have music. You can cut that if you want. That would be a tragedy. So you'll find out that this video that Mr. Hooten made was part of his life that says, I never would have made it without the music program at Winton Woods City Schools. So, here we go. Oh, there'll be a, before you start it, there'll be a quick snap where you see a guy that comes in and he reminds you of Denzel. Just stay tuned, all right?
Good God Almighty, never would have made it. Never would have made it without y'all. Without you.
So jeans.
They said I never could make it because of my situation. Daddy passing my skin color lighter than I could bacon. Got a Pinocchio nose and the whole school was hating me. Still love to climb me in the big boat, they never played me. Let it be known, no. Thank you for your participation. Forget what all of y'all was saying. I made it because all of y'all was hating. Man, I know what's up to be yourself. People don't see the way you think you. Telling you that you can't make it. Tell you your dreams will not come true. Man, don't hate you in your face, but don't have love below. stopping this grind. Man, y'all can hate me now, but y'all love me in time.
And then they gon' show you love just to hate you later.
Oh, yeah.
Be prepared for it all.
I was always known to build something, rubbing on the karaoke with my cousin, dropping truck after truck, and I'm better doesn't everybody clear me like me love it. But I know we got some haters. I was getting to the paper, out of space with a Vader. Why you on earth hater? Just saying, thank you for all your participation. I would not be here if y'all weren't hating. Since I left the woods, I stopped the playing, and if it wasn't for y'all, I wouldn't have made it. Never would have made it. Never would have made it. Never would have made it. Let it be known though, thank you for all your participation. Forget what all of y'all was saying. I made it because all of y'all was hating. I'm stronger, I'm wiser, I'm better, much better. Yeah, I made it.
I would not be here if y'all won't hate it.
Never would have made it. Never would have made
Again, Mr. Hooten not only created the video based on his experience and knew that music saved his life, but he's now bringing that back to his alma mater, Winton City Schools. He also brought some other people with us, with him doing a meeting that we recently had, a gentleman who was a clothing designer who graduated in 2007 as well. So I'm just waiting for him to bring that millionaire back, and that'll be exciting. Our staff appreciation is very important to us. We want to thank every staff member that we have, and we did it with signing some very special cards that are going to be hung in their schools and their offices for the entire year, letting them know that we think about them every day because they think about us. Bus drivers, custodians, and everybody in between. Bus drivers are critical because they open the door the first day. That's where the kids start, right there. If the bus is rolling well and kids are on time, guess what? The rest of the day is going to be absolutely incredible. So these signs will hang in the offices throughout the year because we never want them to forget what we believe in and how it takes an entire village to raise our children. This experience this year felt really different, driving into the high school, driving into the middle school, because we see incredible construction taking place. It's actually coming out of the ground. Things where people can really, really be proud of our experience. Thank you, voters. Thank you for supporting it. Thank you for believing it. Thank you for making this a dream come true for the children in this community, because now these buildings are going to be the most exciting thing that this community has ever seen. So that's a rendering of, so this is what it looked like in May to the far left. And then June, as you see it's progressing, the South Campus. July, August, and that's what it looks like today. The South Campus grades K-6. This is the North Campus, 7-12. Of course, you see March and April, May, June, July, August, and now that's the first view of the auditorium. That's what it looks like. Kind of reminds you of a miniature Carnegie Hall. One of the main things that we want to make happen is when children are not well, they can't perform at their best. And how long does it really take an office visit, an off-campus office visit? It takes hours. You have to get the appointment, you have to get the transportation, you have to find the parking, get to the doctor's office. We're trying to create that opportunity inside of our buildings with the community learning centers. We want it to be health, vision, dental, mental health support right here. If we are able to pull that off with our partner at Mercy, that would be one of the biggest attributes that this community has ever seen. Health services on site. Do you know what that will do for attendance? That means you don't have to schedule those appointments out. You can do it right here, right inside. And here's the other part. These opportunities are also open and available to the public. So it's not just for students, it's for people in the community as well. So we're talking about a healthcare experience that our entire community can benefit from. Remember, we're not talking about just changing the outcomes for Winton Woods City Schools. We're talking about the entire community. All right, we talked a little bit about student safety, and so I'm going to elaborate a little more. In 2009, there were about 15 incidents by year of a student safety situation. Look what happened. Oh, well, there were 31 in 2009, excuse me. In 2018, 110. 2019 is not over, folks. And so we have to pay close attention that the world is changing and we have to be better prepared based on safety. Right now in our high school, we have one school resource officer. According to our lead person on our project, Mr. Denny, our business manager, one of our buildings is 245,000 square feet. We need to make sure that we have resource officers available. When you look at our competing communities, and I'll just mention one, Lakota, how many SROs do they have, Mr. Denny? 19. Because they're saying we're going to be prepared for whatever may come our way. Right now, schools are dealing with interventions. An intervention and a prevention, two drastically different things. An intervention means something happened. A prevention means you prevented it. You stopped it from happening. However, right now, Forest Park is very, very generous to the district. We do pay a portion for our school resource officer, but our portion is very, very small. With the changing times and economic issues, we know that we're going to have to raise our costs. Our neighbors down the street with our other facility in Green Hills, we don't have a resource officer there. We need resource officers in every one of our facilities to make sure that we're doing what we are supposed to do. Now, no one would have thought that these things were going to happen. If you look at the map of the United States, that's where it is. That's what's happening all across the country. Student safety incidents by state. These are real things that have happened in real communities. I can tell you one thing about the incidents by state. Not one community is the same as it was before. It is absolutely impossible to have the community the same as it was before. The cafeteria is no longer the same. The instructional strategies are not the same. The band, the choir, the football team, the athletic programs are not the same once you have a tragedy like this. So we need to make sure that we are prepared and our buildings are safe. How many entrances are in the high school right now? How many exits and entrances, Mr. Denny?
48 entries with 63 doors.
48 entrances. Our new building?
About half that.
Okay. But with safety measures all through it. So when people were talking about the attributes connected to the bond in the buildings, it wasn't just about one thing, it was about many things. It wasn't just about the leaky roofs. It wasn't about the cold environments. It wasn't about the windows and the air conditioning services. It was about the safety aspects as well. Our children deserve to have a better environment to work in, and thank you again, taxpayers, for making that happen. We appreciate you. This is our enrollment. We have projected that by the time the new buildings come out of the ground completely, we will have approximately 5,000 students here. Mr. Pennicuff becomes my historian who sits right here. Tell me the last time Winton Woods had 5,000 students.
It's in the 70s.
70s. We have hit the 4,000 mark threshold, and the new buildings are not even here. And if you know anything about new buildings and construction, when you build new things, people come. And imagine we have the most unique educational program in the region. We have incredible athletic programs. We have incredible academic programs. And so why wouldn't they come? The question for me and the question for you should be, how do we keep sustaining it so that our growth is inevitable and it does not change? Because the worst thing I can do as a superintendent is turn a family away to say that we're full. Anybody ever stood in a line like Chick-fil-A and all of a sudden they ran out of something? When you, I didn't want to say the real thing because they might do something to me later the one day when they see me. All right. So I didn't want to use the real place because I'm clever, folks. I didn't want to do it. So I said something simple. All right. So Doc reminded me, wrong place, right place in my brain. But when you have to stand in a line, but should young people need to stand in a line and be on a waiting list to go to school? Not at all. And when we were talking about 4,000 students in 2019-20, most people said, Superintendent, that's not going to happen. Well, it's here. But that's not the goal. So go back to the original goal. 500 preschoolers and 5,000 students attending Winton Woods City Schools. That would make us the largest employer in this particular region. Absolutely. With staff and students. So how do we do it? We do it, there's going to be a levy on the ballot. And I know people might say, well, why do you have to raise money because the state doesn't give us enough? That's the reality. Schools are totally underfunded. That is the reality. We can't change that reality. But the fact remains, Winton Woods City Schools has not raised a levy, raised funds for taxpayers in this community since 2009. 2009, no raise, no increase in your property taxes. 2009. Of course, the building operation did raise it gently. However, no operating levy since 2009. Folks, I'm not sure what regions you come from and where you live, but most districts, operating levy only lasts 3 years, 4 years at the max. No new taxes since 2009. This is 2019. And so people want things to look great and look grand, but somebody has to pay the price for that to happen. And I can tell you, unless you had your own school or unless you were homeschooled, somebody's taxes paid for you. It had to. Because again, the state does not fund it the proper way. That's what this levy is about. Safety and security, preschool village, increased enrollment. These are real things that cost money. And in order for our district to be the district of destination, we have to make sure that we are putting our position, we're putting ourselves on the map so we can do the best for our children. So this is what we say. Now that we're all working together, let's all stay on the beat. Thank you. Before we depart, Mrs. McIntyre, when she left, she was in good shape, so keep her in your prayers. But we have something else that we'd like for you guys to remember to keep in your prayers. How many of you saw the tragedy in California where the boat was just burned? And there were people on that boat. Well, unfortunately, one of those young people was a child of a teacher, one of our teachers, and Miss Madonna. Donahue? Madonna. Okay, Madonna. And one of the things that we want to make sure that we understand is even though tragedies seem to happen so far away, they always come right back to us. So if you kept the family in your prayers, I'm sure they would really appreciate it, because that is a tragedy that no mom, no dad should ever endure. I believe she was 25 years old. So remember that. And are there any questions in regards to the state of the schools? All right, very good. Thank you. Have a good night. Get home safe.